Playground!
Hooray!
This is the Darren Harris Podcast. Here's your host, Darren Harris.
Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back to the program. I'm your host, Darren Harris. This is the Darren Harris Podcast. Today, I'm talking about weed, man. I'm talking about weed. And I'm talking about the fall and the rise of marijuana today. Very, very fun subject. I used to do a segment on my show called Strain of the Week where I broke down the different strains that I would pick up from the dispensary each week. Since then, I've stopped doing that segment. But today, this is kind of really in the front of my mind because I've just been hearing a lot of negativeness that has been surrounding cannabis as of late, but to no avail because people are starting to understand and become more educated about cannabis than they've ever been in human history. So a lot of the misconceptions and the fabricate are starting to become debunked. They're starting to be debunked by people doing actual science and doing the actual legwork. And shout out to those people who are doing their due diligence to make sure that people don't catch no bullshit behind smoking weed. You know what I'm saying? I mean, really, why? Why is it illegal? Why has it been illegal for so long? Why and what happened in the beginning to make it illegal? Well, I'm going to talk about all that stuff on today's podcast, but first, I'm going to do a quick, fast mental health check with everybody to make sure that your mental health is doing well. My wife, if you have not heard, my wife and I, well, she went through major surgery about 3 weeks ago, and she is recovering nicely, I might add. She is a straight-up champion, she's the strongest woman I've ever met in my life. She did such an incredible thing, and I am super, super proud of her. But she has been down for the past, I guess she's kind of coming through it now, but for the first two weeks, she was pretty emotionally down, and I just wanted her to know that she is an inspiration to many people. And I understand while she may look at herself and wonder how she could ever be the woman that she was before, I will say to her that the woman that she was before was great, but the woman that she has become is 10 times better. So in that, her mental capacity was suffering and needed some reinforcement, some reassurance. And I just want to let her know, and anybody out here that is really going through some sort of hard patch in their life that's affecting them mentally or emotionally, you are not alone. There are plenty of resources out there where you can get adequate help and kind of get through some of the things that you're going through. So with that being said, I'm going to move right into my subject today, which kind of goes along with that. And my subject, I'm talking about cannabis and the criminalization, the good, the bad, and the ugly, everything. And I'm talking about the fall and the rise of marijuana. Now, why was marijuana made illegal? Why? And I know a lot of us have had this question over the years. I smoke weed and have smoked weed, for pretty much most of my life. And for the life of me, I cannot understand or grasp how this can be illegal when there are so many other substances that are created by pharmaceutical companies that are legal, that are so much more harmful than this Simple little old plant. Got the whole pharmaceutical world up at arms. This one little plant has not only the pharmaceutical, but the law enforcement, the politics. This one little plant is really, really got everybody just bugging the fuck out. It really does. So let's start to understand some things. Why was cannabis made illegal in the United States? Well, the primary reason, okay? And I know people, you're always talking about, but this is just the facts, folks. All right? It's just the facts. The primary reason that marijuana was made illegal was due to racial and cultural differences. That is the straight up facts. That's the facts, folks. Okay, check it out. After the Mexican Revolution, that was back in like 1910, a lot of Mexican immigrants brought weed to the United States. A lot of the immigrants just came here. They had a bag of weed. They sat down in their little circles and had fiesta and rolled and lit up and smoked. It wasn't bothering nobody. They was chill. They was chilling. So we became associated with Mexican immigrants, which really didn't sit right with the white population. Really didn't sit well. So a lot of the fear and prejudice, all these people coming in here with this stuff, and we don't really trust it, and it could be anything. And so a lot of the, I guess, anti-drug, I guess there's a lot of anti-drug sentiments in the country at that time. And they were made it as, well, they did. They were successful at lassoing marijuana into that world of illicit, demonized drugs, and that's all they did. They continued to demonize it, and more so, and then the church got a hold of it, and it's not godly, and all kinds of stuff, and then the criminal element, and it just really kind of blew up to the point where they made this one weed the focal point of crime prevention. They wanted to stop it, but something happened. And what happened is they began to notice that African Americans used the drug more than anybody, or what they call a drug. I really don't consider it to be a drug. It's an herb. It's a plant. So African Americans were smoking weed regularly. I mean, we smoke weed. We were smoking weed. We wasn't buying no money. We was just smoking some weed. Which it became synonymous with black people, which back in those days, we all know, especially around the Great Depression in the 30s, they wasn't digging no black people back then. So what did they do? They criminalized it. And what that did, after they criminalized it, it gave them revenue in the form of incarceration. And they used marijuana to disproportionately incarcerate black citizens, black males in particular. Crazy, right? So they started trying to do a bunch of tests, which were bogus, by the way, just complete bullshit, on how marijuana made you violent. What? Makes you violent? What are you talking about? Do you even smoke weed? No? Then how the fuck do you know? But they used any kind of correlation that they could to make marijuana a menace so they could justify criminalizing it so they could justify incarceration. Never mind the social economical status of the average black citizen back in the 30s. Never mind that. The things that might make people angry, like poverty and extreme racism and prejudice and things of that nature. Never mind that. Those things had no factor. It was this weed. It was this weed that made people behave in that way. So that continued to fuel racial bias about weed. And they took the ball and ran with it. I mean, slapping. Little stuff that you should. A roach, seeds, paper. People getting locked up for paper. For paper that has like some resin on it, a little bit of weed residue. I've been to jail personally. I've been to jail 3 times in my life involving weed, all shorter than 3 hours. 3 times shorter than 3 hours. There's 2 times it's about 3 hours, and 1 time is about an hour. And really what it was is so that they could document me, so I could be documented. They let me go all 3 times. 1 time my buddy came and got me out, and I got thrown out. Next time I got out on my own recognizance. The 3rd time, they just let me out. I was in New York City. They let me in. I was in the tank for an hour. I was in there for an hour. The cops even told me what to do. Just go in there, don't say nothing, da-da-da-da-da. They'll let you go. You're going to show up to court. You don't say anything, blah, 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 blah. They're going to slap you on the wrist, and they're going to let you go. And that's exactly what they did. But what they did now is I'm in the system. I'm in the system now. Got all my information now. Feel me? So now they can keep track of me. Now they know where I'm at. If I commit any crimes, they know who I am. Based on that. Based on just those simple infractions. But there are people who've gotten way worse punishments than I have. So many misconceptions surround marijuana. And honestly, for me, I don't think it's fair because there's commercials on television about alcohol. Dead ass. There's commercials on TV about alcohol. And weed is 10 times more mild than alcohol could ever be. There are no healing properties. There's no medicinal properties other than an alcohol swab to your wrist before you get injected with a shot. There's nothing that consuming alcohol does for your body medicinally, with the exception of red wine, because it has antioxidants. It's made out of grapes and it has antioxidants in it. But even still, too much red wine, that ain't good either. People die all the time from alcoholism. I've never heard of anybody dying from marijuanaism. Never. Not one time. But it was classified in the same category as, get this, heroin. Really? Marijuana is in the same category as heroin? For fucking what? Why? We all know the reason why. The reason why is so that they can incarcerate people. And it just worked out that way. Just started working out. Wow, this is great. Because there was so much revenue being made, so much revenue being generated from just the incarceration of just people who dealt with marijuana, let alone the other drugs, just marijuana. I think I read a statistic at one point there was 40% of the American population that smokes weed. Wow, that's a lot of fucking people. That's a lot of people that smoke weed. Get this, Democrats and Republicans, and I'll swing back around to that in a little bit. But yeah, all kinds of people around the world smoke weed, but there have been these misconceptions that have been formulated and put into practice and being taught as the gospel when they are anything but. Just complete and total bullshit. So I have compiled a list of 10 negative misconceptions about marijuana. You want to hear them? Here they go. All right. Number 9, marijuana is a dangerous and harmful drug with no medical benefits. That is a misconception and quite bullshit. Number 9, marijuana use leads to decreased IQ. Bullshit again. Number 8, marijuana use is associated with an increased risk of mental illness. I don't know if I necessarily believe with that because I myself suffer from mental health issues. And one of the things that does help me is marijuana. I am a prescribed patient. And one of the things that does help me is marijuana. It helps me a lot with my anxiety. It also helps me with depression. It just does. It helps. And on top of that, it helps with pain. It does. It helps with pain. Anyway. Number 7, marijuana causes lung cancer and other respiratory problems. Number 6, marijuana use impairs driving ability as much as alcohol. Number 5, marijuana use during pregnancy leads to birth defects. Number 4, marijuana is highly addictive and difficult to quit. Number 3, marijuana use leads to decrease in motivation and productivity. Number 2, marijuana causes permanent damage to the brain. And the number 1 misconception about marijuana is a gateway drug that leads to the use of harder substances. That is total and complete bullshit, folks. I cannot get behind any of that because it's all made up out of fear. It was made up out of fear. It was made up to control a certain group of people. It was made up to benefit another group of people. And I just will not ever believe that shit. I just can't do it. Especially me, I smoke weed versus people who don't smoke weed talking like they're experts about weed. I don't subscribe to that. I will never. It's like talking to a dude that makes sandwiches about how to fix your car. Like, this dude makes sandwiches, but he gonna tell you how to fix. No, you not, motherfucker. You don't know nothing about this fucking car. Go over there and make these fucking sandwiches like you fucking make. Okay? Leave the fixing of the cars to the motherfuckers who fix cars. Okay? I fix cars. You make sandwiches, and you're going to come over here and tell me about fixing cars. Motherfucker, take your ass back over there to them fucking sandwiches. That shit makes me so mad because it's largely politicians who don't smoke or religious figures who don't smoke and want to enforce their or force their will onto different citizens. So I do have 10 positive facts about marijuana also, but I'm going to do those after I get back from my first break. You're listening to the Deron Harris Podcast, folks.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now, back to the Deron Harris Podcast.
Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back to the program. I might be a little bit hotter. I've decided to unhinge the mic and put it in my hand for a little while. I'm feeling a little frisky. So before I went to the break, I listed 10 negative misconceptions about marijuana. And before I went to break, when I said when I came back from break, I would go through 10 positive facts about marijuana and hemp. So here we go. Number 10, marijuana has the potential to be a significant source of tax revenue and job creation if legalized and regulated. That is a fact. I mean, it's just a fact. And you don't have to ask me or take my word for it. Ask all the people that go buy weed every day. I mean, there's a lot of people. Every day. People go buy weed every day. They go buy weed for one reason or another every day. Number 9, hemp can be used to create biodegradable plastics, reducing our reliance on fossil fuels. That is positive as shit because look at the climate. If we keep using fossil fuels, it's just going to get worse. It's just going to get worse. We already have people making strides towards clean energy. And this is just one of those things that can help benefit the health of the planet. Not just us. Number 8, marijuana can help cancer patients manage their side effects of chemotherapy, such as nausea and loss of appetite. It doesn't even have to be cancer patients. It could just be people experiencing those symptoms. I mean, I've been nauseous a few times and smoked a joint and it's gone away. Same thing with loss of appetite. A lot of people who don't eat, they prescribe marijuana because it gives them the munchies. Period. But there's all these people and all these experts who aren't doctors or any of that who want to tell you how bad it is and how criminal it is just based on hearsay. Number 7, hemp can be used to create environmentally friendly building materials such as hempcrete. Yes, folks, hempcrete is a real thing. Number 6, marijuana has been shown to improve symptoms in patients with multiple sclerosis, epilepsy, and other neurological disorders. That is true. Number 5, marijuana can be used as an alternative to opioids for pain management, potentially reducing the risk of addiction and overdose. And that is the facts, Jack. And I'll tell you how I know. My wife right now is going through it. She had, like I said, major surgery about 3 weeks ago, and she was prescribed Percocet. And we both were concerned because Percocet is addictive. It's addictive, and it's harmful. And it works like a motherfucker, but it's addictive. But my wife doesn't generally like to take pills anyway. She doesn't even really want to take Tylenol. And, man, she's stronger than I could have been because I'd have ate the whole bottle of Percocet by now based on, the injuries. I mean, they're pretty severe. They're pretty severe. But she is powering right on through it with the help of tincture oils and different edibles that give her pain relief. And that is a fact. Number 4, CBD, a non-psychoactive compound found in marijuana, has been shown to have various therapeutic effects, including anti-inflammatory and anti-anxiety properties. Yeah, that's true. Number 3, marijuana has been used for centuries for its medicinal properties, including pain relief, nausea, reduction, and appetite stimulation. Number 2, hemp seeds are a nutritious food source, rich in protein, fiber, and essential fatty acids. And number 1, hemp is a versatile and sustainable crop that can be used for various purposes, including paper, textiles, and biofuels. It's not bad, folks. It is not bad. And politicians and church and everybody in just about, wants you to believe that it is. They want you to believe. But thankfully, in recent years, there have been a lot of efforts to decriminalize and legalize weed for everybody. And that's mainly because people's attitudes are changing towards weed because of Colorado was really the first one to show everybody what it could really do for you economically and socially. And people are wanting to get to the legalization for, there are many reasons. One is the recognition. They want to change the recognition of social injustices caused by the war on drugs, with marijuana arrests disproportionately affecting minority communities. They want to kibosh that shit, and I'm with that. And not to mention, like I just said, the potential for tax revenue and job creation. That's another reason. This is why they want to legalize it, or they're pushing to legalize it. There's a growing body of research that support more and more medical benefits. It's almost like every month. Almost like every month they're finding new shit that weed is good for. Like medicinally, not just recreationally. And also, like I said, places like Colorado and Washington State, which them legalizing marijuana has been super successful because they've seen a drop in their crime rate as well as their socioeconomical status of their citizens. That's great. I think that's great. I think that's absolutely great. So where in this country is weed legal? Where can you just get some weed and mind your business? Where are these places? Well, I have compiled a list for you, and maybe you're in one of these states, maybe you're not, and if you're not, maybe you might want to consider moving to one of these states if you're somebody like me. But here's a list of states that offer decriminalized marijuana for recreational use, okay? These are states that have decriminalized marijuana for recreational use. Number 1 is Alaska. Number 2 is California. Number 3, Colorado. Number 4, Illinois. Number 5 is Maine. Number 6, Massachusetts. Number 7, Michigan. Number 8, Nevada. Number 9, Oregon. Number 10, Vermont. And number 11 is Washington. Those are all places where you could just go to the store and get some weed and smoke it. And I think that's awesome. I think that is awesome because there are many more things more pressing than to arrest people for marijuana. Shit like human trafficking. Let's get on that, folks. How about that? Let's get off human trafficking. Let's get off marijuana and get on human trafficking more rather. Crutch word. Here is a list now that I have also compiled. I'm reading also. Here's a list that I've compiled of states that have partially decriminalized marijuana and have legalized it for medicinal treatment. Number 1 is Arizona. Number 2 is Arkansas. Number 3, Connecticut. 4 is Delaware. 5, where I'm at, is Florida. Number 6, Hawaii. Number 7, Louisiana. Number 8, Maryland. Number 9, Minnesota. Number 10, Montana. Number 11, New Hampshire. Number 12, New Jersey. 13 is New Mexico. Number 14 is New York, which I think New York just recently made it legal for recreational. And I lost my count, but you have North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Utah, and West Virginia. Those are all states that have legalized marijuana for medicinal purposes. And I think that's great. Shout out to all those states for understanding that marijuana is not the enemy. Marijuana is definitely not the enemy. It's an ally. It helps. It helps in so many ways. So now that I've compiled that list, I got another list for you. And this is a list of states that are in heavy opposition to legalizing cannabis and why. Okay. Number 1 is Idaho, which is a strong conservative and religious base. And their concerns are about potential negative effects of marijuana on society. Kansas is also conservative political climate. Their concerns about the potential negative effects of marijuana on public health and safety. Nebraska, conservative, concerns about potential negative effects of marijuana on public health and safety. South Dakota, conservative, concerns about potential negative effects of marijuana on public health and safety. You guys see a pattern emerging here? Tennessee, conservative, concerned about the potential negative effects of marijuana on public health and safety. Alabama, conservative political climate, concerns about political negative effects of marijuana on public health and safety. Indiana is the same. Mississippi is the same. North Carolina is the same. And South Carolina is the same. The same. All conservative states, all conservative beliefs, all conservative political affiliation, all concerned about public health and safety. But none of these people are doctors. They're politicians. They're politicians that have an agenda. And that is what it is. They're not concerned about public health and safety. They really aren't. Because I'll tell you what, if they were concerned about public health, they would pass laws against shit like McDonald's, Burger King. Because that has, I mean, that right there, McDonald's has killed more people than marijuana. I'm just going to put it up there like that. Fast food in America has killed more people than marijuana. Damn right. Damn right. And safety, you want to talk about safety? Safety. Really? There's a lot of conservative states out there talking about safety when there's guns fucking everywhere. Everywhere. I live in one of these states where there's guns everywhere. And people say, oh, guns equal safety. It also equals not safety. Public safety. Get the fuck out of here. Marijuana. Get the fuck out of here. And I'll say it to any conservative. I'll tell you right in your face. I don't care. I don't give a shit. And that just goes to show you. And I'll tell you, this is another problem that I have with it. There are plenty of conservative. I have conservative friends. I have friends that, believe it or not, are Republicans. Yes, I do. I have friends that vote Republican every time that I grew up with. Friends. People that I consider to be my friends that smoke weed but will vote Republican anyway. You're voting against your best interest anyway. It's absolutely ridiculous, folks. It's just ridiculous. And I hate to bring politics into everything, and that's the last, I swear. Maybe not. It might not be the last I say in this, because it's tied to it. A lot of this is tied to it. The prison system, the whole thing is tied to this. There's so much shit tied to marijuana. And I'll tell you what, the only reason they're fucking figuring out how to make it legal is because they're figuring out how to make money off of it. Because before, can't figure out it's illegal. They can't make money on illegal. When then they found out the motherfuckers is really making money on this shit. So, of course, Uncle Sam needs to have a part of cannabis. So let's get down on some hemp. Let's grow some hemp. Uncle Sam been growing the best hemp for years. They've been growing weed for years. Years. in the name of research. Great. The only problem with that is they've been incarcerating motherfuckers behind it too. And I think it's high time that anybody who's been incarcerated for marijuana, they need to be let go. You need to let them go, man. You need to let them go. You need to drop all those charges because it's preposterous. It just is. So I got a list of 10 positive things about the legalization of marijuana. But again, I'm going to do that when I come back from my next break. And also when I come back from the break, I might revisit my segment Strain of the Week. You guys are listening to the Darren Harris Podcast. I'll be right back. Hey, folks, what's up? Welcome back to the program. Talking about weed today. Yes, we are. So I'm going to revisit the strain of the week, folks. I'm going to tell you what the strain of the week is for me this week. Now, I did it. I think this was the very first episode I did. Was the strain of the week was black tuna, and I haven't been able to find it, but I was able to locate some, and you're able to get it from, I hate to say it like this, my least favorite dispensary, Truly. I just can't stand it. But that black tuna is pretty serious if you can get it at the THC count that they say that it is, the THC and the terpene count that they say it is. You got to ask folks when you step up to them, you ask them, what's the THC count? What's the terpenes, man? What are the terpenes? Anything over 2, you're going to feel it. Anything under 2 is kind of cool, but you don't want anything like 1.5 because it's just a waste of money. So anything over 2, you definitely want to, you want to take a serious look at. So my strain this week is black tuna, which is a hybrid. I believe it's sativa leaning hybrid, but it's very it's very productive. It gives me the energy, but also it makes my brain, move in directions and think about things from different angles, from many different angles. It gets me to analyze things a lot more thoroughly. I definitely enjoy this strain. It is definitely one of my favorite strains. I think green crack is probably my favorite, but only if it's like the real thing. There's a lot of fake green crack out there. You don't want to get caught up with that. But if you can get your hands on some green crack, I definitely recommend that shit. So that was the strain of the week. So I was also talking about the 10 positive things about the legalization of marijuana. Number 1, tax revenue. Legal marijuana can generate significant tax revenue for states, which can be used for education, healthcare, and other public services. That's what Colorado did, man. That's what all these states have done. Job creation. The legal marijuana industry can create thousands of jobs, from cultivation and production to retail and distribution. Economic growth. Legal marijuana can stimulate local economies, attracting tourists and businesses to the area. Social justice. Legalization can help address racial and social injustices caused by the war on drugs, with marijuana arrests disproportionately affecting minority communities. Medical benefits. Legal access to marijuana can help patients with chronic pain, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, and other conditions manage their symptoms. Alternative to opioids. Marijuana can be used as an alternative to opioids for pain management, potentially reducing the risk of addiction and overdose. Safer product. Legal marijuana is regulated and tested for quality and safety. reducing the risk of contamination and other health hazards. Now, I'm on the fence with this myself because I've got some marijuana from my man down the street, which was great. And I've gotten some marijuana from the dispensary, which was kind of bullshit. I've also got marijuana from a dispensary that has had mold on it. So make sure you are checking your marijuana from your dispensary. Now, with that being said, yeah, there are some things out there to look for with marijuana, but it's very minuscule and very few and far between. The incidents are very few and far between because people, when they get weed, they generally smoke the shit out of it. So there's not a lot of it to go bad. So, crime reduction. Legal marijuana can lead to decrease in drug-related crime. Personal freedom. Legalization allows adults to make their own choices about marijuana use without fear of criminal persecution or prosecution. Public health benefits. And that's what the other those states that have not decriminalized marijuana, there's public health concerns, but public health benefits. Legal marijuana can be used to fund, educate, and prevention programs helping to reduce the potential negative effects of the drug on society. Okay? So that's what it does. Those are some good points. Those are some good things about the legalization of marijuana. There's some positive things that have happened. You know, states like Colorado, like I said, and Washington, seeing significant significant increase in revenue. For real. Some people say that it's putting over $1 billion into their economy. I can see that happening. Like I said, job creation, decreased crime rates. There's all kind of reasons, man. There's all kind of reasons to get off people's back about marijuana. And like I said, man, there's still these people out there with these negative misconceptions. Gateway drug. The misconception suggests that marijuana leads to the use of harder substances. However, research has shown while marijuana users are statistically more likely to use other drugs, this does not necessarily mean that marijuana users cause the use of other drugs. I smoke weed. I don't do anything else. Marijuana leads to violent crime. Despite numerous studies showing no direct link between marijuana and violent crime, this misconception has been prevalent. In fact, a new review conducted by the Rand Corporation on behalf of the White House concluded that marijuana use does not induce violent crime. And anybody who smokes marijuana can tell you that. But anybody who doesn't smoke marijuana is just going to make shit like that up. Keep that in mind, folks. Keep that in mind. There's all kinds of shit, folks. I mean, it's just so fucking, man, what's the word I'm looking for? It's wrong how they portray marijuana, how the powers that be have set up the country to believe that marijuana is bad, and the church as well. The church is in cahoots. There's nothing to support that. There's nothing. I mean, even in the Bible, there are even scriptures in the Bible that say that all of the herbs of the earth are good. All of the herbs of the earth are good. But we got people out here steadily telling you that it's illegal and it's a sin and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. It's stupid. Anyway, folks, I'm going to wrap this up by saying this. If you smoke weed and you enjoy smoking weed, you smoke that. You smoke weed. And as a matter of fact, I'll join you. You know what I'm saying? I'll join you because there's nothing out there that any government official, especially the ones who do not smoke weed, can tell me about smoking weed. All right? So in that, yeah, a lot of other people are starting to feel that. A lot of other people are starting to realize that these people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Creating a renaissance, if you will. The new rise of marijuana. My name is Darren Harris, folks. Thank you for joining me today for my podcast. I want to thank my wife and my parents for being great to me. I want to thank my best friend Jay for putting me up to this. I want to thank my man Gentry Thomas for giving me the platform to do my podcast on. And I definitely, once again, want to thank everybody who is listening to my podcast. I do appreciate it. And I know sometimes I babble along, but thanks for sticking with me. I do appreciate it. And you guys keep sticking with me, and I'll keep trying to give you the best content that I can. So until next week, I'm Darren Harris, and this is the Darren Harris Podcast. I'll see you next time. Peace.
You've been listening to the Darren Harris Podcast. Subscribe to the show, give a good rating, and everything you need to know is at DarrenHarris.com.